Hello, my sacred ones. I'm Savina Leo, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Sutra, where I break down spiritual concepts so you can understand and integrate them into your everyday life. Now, the number one reason why people come to me is because they have some sort of negative emotion, or they feel stuck or lost in their life due to repeating negative emotions. And they don't understand how to process these emotions. And what I wanted to do today is I wanted to help you guys break down exactly how to process difficult emotions. Most of us were not taught how to do this. We were just taught to deal with it or get over it. And we weren't really given the tools to understand how to process negative emotions. And negative emotions happen to us daily, multiple times a day. And then we also have negative emotions that are repeating from the past that come up in our heads all the time. So knowing how to process negative emotions is essential to your growth and development. So first, let's identify how we might not be coping well with our emotions. We might be using these things to escape our emotions. And the first thing is avoiding. And that might look like scrolling through social media, watching too much TV, overworking, over-exercising, hanging out with friends too much, or gaming. And nothing is wrong with any of these activities, but we have to ask ourselves if we are using these activities to avoid a feeling or emotions, and we're not fully letting ourselves experience these negative emotions. Are you just pretending that those feelings don't exist? The second way that we can cope with negative emotions in an unhealthy manner is by numbing. And that might look like binge eating, drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, doing drugs, excessive sex and masturbation, doing any activity that might numb those feelings so you don't have to fully experience them. So how do we actually process these negative emotions? First, I want you to recognize what is the actual emotion that you are feeling. So a situation comes up, or a situation from the past pops into your head, and you're going to want to identify and give a label to the actual emotion that is coming up. You know that you're feeling bad or negative about a certain situation, and you kind of want to bring that to the forefront. You want to bring it to your awareness. You want to start asking it some questions. And the first question would be, what is the actual emotion? So for example, it can be, I'm feeling embarrassed about that situation. I feel angry. I feel fearful. I feel shame or guilt. You want to give the feeling a proper label. You see, what happens is that when a negative thought comes into our head and we avoid it or try to numb it, we can't properly identify what we are really feeling. And by bringing it to our awareness and giving it a proper label, we can take the power back from it. I remember a while ago there was a situation with some of my friends, and years afterwards that situation kept coming back in my head, and I was wondering, why does it keep popping up in my head? And the moment I let it and I allow it to unfold in my head, I realized I was embarrassed by the situation. And the moment I gave it a label, and the moment I identified that I was embarrassed by the situation, it no longer had power over me, and the thought no longer had any significance to me. The next step is you want to ask it some questions. You want to start describing the feeling. So where in my body do I feel it? Is it in a particular chakra? Like, is it in my solar plex chakra, my heart chakra? And what association does that chakra have to a feeling? Does it have a color, a shape? Does it feel hot or cold? Does it feel urgent or slow? Am I feeling overwhelmed by it? You want to start observing the feeling, and it's observing from a non-judgmental place. You just want to notice what is happening in your body. You want to bring to your awareness that it is just a feeling and it doesn't have to stay in your body forever. You just don't want to have any resistance to that feeling. You're going to allow it to happen with the thought that it is not a permanent feeling, it is temporary. You can also start to notice what is coming up for you. Are you starting to blame others and not taking responsibility for your own feelings and thoughts? Because at the end of the day, your feelings are not someone else's responsibility. Your thoughts around your feelings might be contributing to how you are feeling and the spiral that is happening in your mind. Being able to take responsibility for your thoughts and your feelings is what is going to bring your power back to yourself. The next step is you want to make sure that you tell yourself that it's okay to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and you allow your body to start purging. And it might look like screaming or crying, whatever it is that you need to do in order to get it out of your body, the feeling out of your body. It is okay for you to do that, and you want to sit with it as long as you need to, and you don't want to rush this part of the process. What happens is negative emotions get stuck in different parts of our body, and if we don't release it from our body, it stays there and it comes back up as health issues later on in life if we don't deal with the negative feelings that are stuck in our body. So physically letting out those feelings is important to the process. And that part of it might look scary because you might be shaking and screaming and crying, and it might look scary on the outside, but it's the way that your body is able to reset itself. When we suppress the negative feelings, it never gets a chance to be fully experienced. And that's why it is repeated and it comes up in our mind constantly. So when you give it a chance to be fully expressed, while telling yourself it's okay to feel this way, it lets your mind, body, and spirit process what happened to you. You also want to remember your basics when you are going through this process. And the basics are to breathe deeply and breathe with intention. The last step that you want to take to make everything really concrete in your mind and your body is that you want to shift the thoughts around your feelings. For example, you could say that it all worked out for your best, it was supposed to happen this way, I didn't die from embarrassment from that situation, so that's what I tell myself. You can also say that I learned so much about myself through what happened to me. You can even say, I may not understand why it happened to me, but one day it will all make sense. Find some sort of positive in the situation, and you want to repeat that in your head instead of the negative thoughts around the feeling. Moving through emotion is the only way to properly integrate it. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of repeating the process over and over until you can fully accept what has happened to you and even love what has happened to you. but it is necessary in your own personal and spiritual development. How do you know when you have fully accepted it? You know that you fully accepted it when it no longer registers in your body and you forget that you even had negative feelings around a situation. You no longer have a negative reaction to the thoughts that are coming up into your head. And that's how you know you fully process something. It's not that the negative thoughts may never come up again. They might come up again, but when they come up, you're going to recognize and realize that you don't have the same reaction that you had before, that it feels smaller in your body, it feels smaller in your mind, and that's how you know that you're doing the process right. I hope this episode was helpful. I tried to pack as much information in it so you can fully understand the process. If you need a companion, some extra help when it comes to doing the work and doing the process, you can check out my Patreon. It has companion workbooks for a lot of the episodes that I have done, and I add new ones every month. The link for my Patreon will be in the show notes. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, you can also find that link in the show notes. As usual, you can find me on Instagram at I am Savina Leo. Thank you for your continued support of the podcast, and I will talk to you guys soon.